How many of you, saw on that quick ideas .dynamics.com, some of those near-term things that were being talked about? And one of the very first ones that I saw on that list was the Multiselect option set. I don't know about you guys, but today how we have to get around that is you have to create all of these custom entities so that you can have many selected options for a field that really you were just wishing that you could have multi-option available. They are finally beckoning everyone's pleas and making this available in this next release. So I think that alone is probably worth looking at an upgrade. One, so that you can finally have the functionality. Two, so that you can get rid of all of those extra entities that you've had to create over the years just to capture those multiple relationships. Plus, think of all the views that you can now build having a multi-select option set as opposed to all of those one-to-many, many-to-many type entity relationships that'll take care of. So we've got a refreshed web client. So here on this slide, this is an example of what the new UI is going to look like. Now, quick question and kind of a poll of who's played around in the existing release, but has anybody used the Engagement Hub or the Interactive Experience UIs that Microsoft has available right now in the current version? Good. That's perfect. One, because that means you didn't have to wait 5 minutes for it to load every time you wanted to launch it. And two, then this is more of a surprise for you guys of what it's going to look like. For me, the first thing that I notice, as both a common complaint that we get from clients when I look at this, is that we've gotten rid of what? It's an open answer. Anybody can answer. It's less of a certain color. What was that, Brian?
White space.
I didn't even pay him to feed that answer. The white space is gone. I don't know about you when you have to work with certain users. They're like, oh, can I just get rid of this white space? Well, I could, but I have 2 tabs and some spacers in a different section. And Microsoft, when they enabled that in the UI, it essentially clogs it up, creates a bunch of white space, makes it difficult to navigate. So I'm extremely excited for this feature as well. Now, with this new UI, what they've done is gone ahead and made it so that it is part of a unified client interface. So now when I am on my web or on my mobile, the layout, the look, the feel, the functionality is almost seamless. So no more having to go and figure out, am I designing a main form? Am I designing a mobile form? Am I or a quick view form? All the same. So think of your configuration and customization time that you spend on UIs alone, and now you can shrink that down. So already in these first few items, we're getting rid of all these entities that we have to create for multi-option select, all of these mobile and web UIs. And you can reduce the number of complaints you get for white space. So when they do make this readily available for all of us for an upgrade, I think it's going to be a win.
It's going to be great.
It'll be great. Another thing that you can see here as well is they redefined the business process flow. So this is, I think, kind of one of their evolving. How can we change this each release so somebody has to learn something new? Last release, it was the behind-the-scenes editor of how you had to manage business flows. Before that, it was the UI. Now they've come back to UI, so maybe in the next release they'll change how we edit them behind the scenes again. But what they've done is make this so that you've got your target icon or identifier where in the past it was that flag and nobody really knew if it was the active stage or not. The flag wasn't that prevalent. So they've done some UI changes to this. But then you also notice that they've got this flyout or this pop-out that takes place of the vertical space that the business process flow ribbon was taking up. So I couldn't tell you how many times somebody said, just axe the business process flow because it's eating into my real estate. Plus, I've got all this white space problem I've got to deal with. So I think they heard us on, hey, can we make the UI a little easier to look at and use? Real quick, any questions so far on the new UI? Julie?
So on the highlight, is that the only way to view that stage?
Yeah, so that's how it looks so far. What we've been able to see is that it is that. As you can see, it does have the, I would like to view this as a separate window, so as a pop-out window. But what I haven't found out yet is if those are forms that you design as well, or if it stays within the stage concept, stage and steps within the business process flow editor.
And do you know if the filing on the side is actually bigger than having it?
Like if it'll have a scroll.
Or even just the width.
So I haven't seen if the width is variable, but depending on the number of steps, it will add that vertical scroll. But you bring up a feature that we didn't bullet it out, but they are introducing word wrapping as well. So if the length of a field is longer than what you've designated for both the section on the UI or as in a flyout, they now have the option for you to come in and enable word wrap. So another nice feature of, I don't know how many times I've looked at a header and everything is, faded out and you don't know who owns the record because you had to put other things in there. So that'll be a nice addition. But I'll check into if width and or how you can manage those forms or if they're visible in another part as well. So this is a tablet view. They've also changed the functionality of the mobile UI as well, where charts and views, anything is your, I guess, pinch and tap control enabled. And so as you dive into metrics, so you want to zoom in, see a certain column, things like that, they've enhanced the mobile interface as well. You also notice that based on the tabs and sections, that some of those can still be vertical scrolling, where you can scroll up and down, flip up and down, based on how you've laid that out in your sections. And then, like they have the tabs today, you can still swipe left and right to navigate that way. So they've cleaned up the mobile navigation as well, and to also have it be more tightly coupled with how your web UI layout has been done.
Android users take part, even though they're showing just those evil Apple phones. Still work on Android.
We hope. No, I'm just kidding. It will work on Android. Awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Haven't rolled out Dynamics yet. Coming. I was told that it's not going to capture like text messages or phone calls from mobile devices. Has that changed, or is that?
So it doesn't out of the box, right?
Okay.
There are multiple solutions as well as different integrations that are out there as third parties that could be set up. Yeah. Yep. Definitely possible. Okay. Let's see. Have I touched on all that? Oh yes, the timeline control. So with the activity feeds, today those are fairly rigid and set in stone of what you can do. Maybe you can run a little bit of a filter. But what they're going to do is they're actually going to change that so you can define the order that you want things sorted, if you want to apply a filter to the timeline, as well as adding some additional groupings of how the timeline or that social pain activity feed is presented. And
For people who are using mobile, on the timeline control, it's recorded. They're actually going to let you capture audio and video and from your mobile device. So that's kind of a cool feature that you can look forward to on mobile.
Yeah, so as you tap that node, stab it right in, it then inserts that into your timeline. There's also, they continue to enhance the Skype integration that they have. So again, that feeds into the timeline of how you set up and use it. So if you have Skype for Business, that integration has been pretty easy. They're making that easier and a little more seamless in terms of how that information is captured and presented into the timeline. Where did George go? Hey! So here's George. I'm going to switch back. I had a few slides that I just wanted to present as we went through those. Any of the questions on those topics that I had discussed there? Whoops. Let me get back down to that slide. Okay. We'll have George go ahead and cover our virtual entities.
Thanks, Eric. So virtual entities is a feature that we've been excitedly waiting for a while in the world where we're integrating CRM with other systems, with ERP systems, other outside databases that you might have. In many organizations, for example, there's a need to view, say, accounting records, like maybe your accounts receivable from within CRM. And classically, what we would do is then we would create some sort of a record structure to emulate your accounts receivable, and then we would create integrations from the ERP system and to actually try to synchronize those records. And it was expensive to set up, hard to maintain, and not very flexible. These virtual entities will give you the ability to set up basically a view into a separate database system and treat it as if it were an entity within CRM and interact with it for laying out forms and views and so forth. So it'll make it a lot easier to create integrations and views into third-party systems without actually having to create synchronizations to those. There's some enhancements to the customer engagement portals. You can track portal interactions between your customers. Now it'll run statistics for you and help you to understand what types of activities are going on in your portals. That tracking also extends out to the forum and the knowledge base and their searching. So if you want to know what kind of things are people searching for when they log into our customer portal, you'll be able to now track that. What documents are people looking at? Currently, people are able to get at the documents and see them, but you don't really know what people are doing on your portal unless you set up some of the third-party tools that monitor that. This also includes notes and attachments, and when you're doing searching, you can search through the attachment titles. You can't really search inside the attachment, but you can search the titles. They've also added a portal admin wizard to make it easier to set up the portals. So it becomes a little less of a developer activity and more of a power user. So you won't need to call JourneyTEAM quite as often to come help you do some of these changes to your portal. And they're also, this is like across the board, you're going to see this on most of the products within the Dynamics family, but they're moving to a single sign-on using Azure Active Directory as the preferred method to authenticate to the customer portals. Exciting new integrations to LinkedIn, kind of across the board, not just in CRM. They've got a new connector that will integrate with marketing campaigns and allow you to set up rules to go out and go identify people on LinkedIn, candidates that fit a particular campaign, and put those in and add them to your, using some matching rules and then link them up to your marketing lists. They've also got some new widgets that will promote contacts and give you recommendations for who might be a good candidate for maybe a product line that you've got coming out. So we'll also talk a little bit more about LinkedIn when I talk about Dynamics Talent. Organization Insights, it's actually been out for a while. This is a free download, and it's a really cool tool. One of the big issues, I think, with implementing these systems is getting the user adoption. We can do a perfect job on configuring the system, getting all the features set up, everything works perfectly, it's all tested, no bugs, But if users aren't actually getting and using your system, you're not going to realize the value that you're getting out of it. So Organization Insights allows you to monitor which users are logging in, what types of records are they creating, what records are they reading, monitors which types of records in your system are the most popular, helps you also manage your space by identifying how quickly data is growing in different modules in the system. There's also another free add-on for CRM called the Microsoft Social Engagement. This goes out to the social sites there's various API connectors to the social sites out there, and this kind of similar to the LinkedIn plugin. This goes out and monitors all the different threads that you're monitoring, particularly the ones that you own, kind of ranks their popularity, looks at what posts people are liking, helps you to understand where your social marketing is being effective. Also helps you to be able to maybe recommend those links to other people.
So you can set that up to monitor your competitors as well. So when you come back to the overall analytics dashboard for social engagement, you have that option with your stats versus your competitors' stats. As well as, as part of this update and building upon the prior ones are those connectors that George was talking about. So you can take a social activity and then convert that into a CRM record, whether it's a lead or associated as a social activity to a contact account, so that you have that as part of that activity feed timeline as well.
I'll pile on just a couple more things as you consider using social as a barometer for how your customers are feeling about your organization, about your products, about the services you've given. They're going to be responding, right? Posting their feedback online, and so you can get a good look at at your value score that your clients are giving you. And social engagement actually uses some natural language decipherment abilities to figure out, hey, is that a positive post or was that a negative post? Let you get some analytical insight into what are they writing about us. And if there's a immediate problem, you can pinpoint a specific post and not just turn it into a lead or some other activity. How about turning it into a case, something that you can then follow up with that person on, manage it, and resolve it for them, so that you don't have more of those posts being created. So really good tools here in the social engagement space.
Yeah, thank you. It's part of the maturity model that we preach a lot. Early on, you're just implementing these different pieces of software and starting to gather in data. This is a more of a mature feature where now you're beginning to automatically interact with what's going on in the environment, and it can trigger workflows to help you be proactive in addressing things.
Social engagement, sensor, chat, Facebook.
Yeah, there's a variety of connectors that are available.
There's 8 out of the box that it'll work with, and then you have the option to come in and set up your own feeds that you'd like it to monitor as well. So as long as something has a connection, and then most common is it doesn't have like an RSS feed that it can connect to, then you can set those up as one of your streams for social activity types. Yeah. Well, Cloud kind of is a similar tool to what social engagement does in terms of measuring impression and sentiment and those things. But if Cloud has an RSS and you knew the terms or the keywords that you wanted to set up, then you could go and configure that.
Yeah, for those who are dialed in, the question was, does it connect? What services does it connect to? What social feeds? The answer: there's several out-of-the-box ones, and you can also create custom ones. One thing that many of these features have in common is that they're also interface with Power BI. So there's a lot of out-of-the-box reports available that are already configured for you that make a great starting point, a good launching point, and then you can go in and adapt those and create your own too. Customer Service Hub, you probably heard of the Interactive Service Hub if you've been really active in the community. That's been available for a while now, but it's being replaced by what we call the Customer Service Hub. It's more optimized. It's built on the unified client interface, so you're going to get the elimination of the white space, the unified presentation across different platforms. So if you're on your PC or if you're on your tablet or your mobile. Also, it doesn't rely on downloading the metadata model to whatever device you're using, and so it's just a quick load and away you go. Even if your developers have been in adding new entities, it's really quick and responsive. Lots of interactive dashboards are available for that, and that also will interact with Power BI. And then not last yet. Rich editing, they've now enhanced the editing experience when you're in creating activities, particularly emails now, where you're wanting to embed HTML and do more formatting, bulleted and numbered lists, things like that. Previously, you just had a very simple text editor. They've made it now a much more rich text experience. And then finally, if you've been using the old client for Outlook, you know that was a pretty fat client that would download your Outlook. It would hold up Outlook when you loaded Outlook for sometimes a couple minutes while it was refreshing metadata and downloading and synchronizing data. And it's been problematic for many organizations. They've created the new Dynamics 365 app for Outlook. And this is used in the browsers when you're using Outlook in a browser. And it gives you the nearly the full functionality of that you got from the previous Outlook client, with the exception that it doesn't work in offline mode yet. But it's very configurable, and you get much, because now Outlook is available in kind of from the waffle up in the corner, but so is CRM, and so it kind of puts it all still in the same interface, but now it's your web browser. So as long as you can connect to the internet and you got a browser on your device, you'll have access to the full Outlook functionality, which you didn't have from the Outlook client that ran in the browser before. So, any questions about any of this? All right. Thank you. I'll be back to talk about talent shortly.
This is the list.
So, you know, for those of us who are holdouts and we want to have that Outlook integration experience with Dynamics 365, the new app runs in the Outlook client as well. And the reason that we need that is because that old Outlook client, the one that allowed you to go offline and look at everything inside CRM, now in one pane of glass inside Outlook, is going to be gone. So this is the list of items that have been deprecated by Microsoft, and that Outlook client is one of the first. We see it in about somewhere around half of users are using that, and I just want to take a quick poll. Who in here has been using the Dynamics or the CRM for Outlook add-on? Okay. So 3 or 4 or 5. Yes. And you're waiting for it to die, and it does. It takes forever to load up and synchronize and launch. And it's actually I've seen it where it was down to a couple of minutes to load. And this new experience is going to be much better. But unfortunately, those of you who are using it are going to need to make some other plans. Also, the scheduling component. Used to be able to have have a case and need to schedule an appointment and be able to work on that scheduling using scheduling for the customer service. I'm going to talk about unified resource scheduling in a little while. That's all been deprecated, and now there's a unified schedule board, and so we'll talk about that in some detail. Dialogues are also gone. Instead, they've been replaced by business process flows and mobile task flows. So they didn't leave the mobile users out, so how many of you have ever enjoyed the use of a dialogue?
Enjoyed the use?
No, I'm going with enjoyed first. So they're not always the easiest to use necessarily. That those dialogues have mystified some, and a source of consternation to others, and they're also gone. Knowledge base, the built-in knowledge base features of the CRM are now taking over from what used to be the Parature knowledge base. So the knowledge management features of the CRM are now just going to be those that are native, and so Parature is going away. They now have a pretty great way to edit those knowledge base articles inside Dynamics 365 natively. Contracts, contract line items, contract templates, those are going away in favor of something called agreements. So agreements were brought by the field service scheduling requirements, and so those have taken over that role of for scheduling those ongoing relationship interactions. SLAs, now there's something called enhanced SLAs, which takes a standard SLAs, adds a few features. We can go into that in more detail on another day, but so standard SLAs, if you're using them, they're deprecated. Start using enhanced SLAs. Do you even know what Microsoft cycle is on deprecated features? Right? They're announcing that they're gone today, that they will be gone today, but when will they actually get rid of them? Anybody know what timeline they give us? It's kind of a trick question. All they say is, these will be gone in some future release. So you don't really know when, but you're advised now to make plans to get rid of these older features in favor of the newer ones. These items still work. They work in the current 2017 release, but they will be removed later. Relationship roles. Anyone using those? Kind of a holdover from 4. Those have been replaced by connection roles. And then mail merge. That I'm pretty excited about. It's going away because the new functionality of being able to generate those Word and Excel templates, those reports directly out of CRM. You can run them from a workflow and get those documents generated. That functionality has actually been really good. Anybody use that so far? Okay, these are some new features that you should be using because they're very powerful, and those have actually been around for a while. So we'll move on to the next here. Yeah.
All right, the giant moniker of customer insights. Got a little. Really wish we could hide those other little things. But, anybody know? And there's a little bit of a hint here with the infographic. What Microsoft is planning when they say customer insights or customer engagement. There you go. That's what they're planning. So some of the key features that are coming in this release, and there have been a few of these that are in place, but the email connector, so they have an exchange online for customer insights. The idea here, and I don't know if anybody was using the preview that came out last release that allows some analytics on email usage. But what this does is that it goes into Exchange, brings in metadata about the emails and your appointments, and then focuses that back to your CRM, traditional entities of your contacts and your accounts. Now, why is that helpful? Let's say that as you draft a response, this insight can then come and tell you that you have a better chance of this getting read if you send this later this afternoon. Or when you send emails to this contact of this client, they only open it 10% of the time. But if you send emails to this other contact at this client, they open it up 40% of the time. I don't know. Seems pretty helpful. So with this connector and those customer insights, now you're really starting to get some data of all those emails that you send that are going to give you insights into how you can get better traction, better conversion when you're communicating with your client, with your customer, whoever you're emailing. Yes?
And I use that internally to find out who in my organization is not
Yes.
Because that's the issue.
Set them up as contacts under your organization.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. We've talked about Skype and Skype conversations about earlier, those having a tighter integration of dropping in the information about those phone calls into the activity, into the timeline feed. George had mentioned a little bit, and I'm jumping over to the right here, that little light blue teal graphic around social. So there's an additional connector, and these are just going to the application or the updates into your instance manager, and you enable them and install them. But what the social selling assistant does, and I'm going to jump over and show you guys a quick, is a couple of things. This is the one that works with your with the LinkedIn, but essentially as there's social and then there's the selling assistant. These are both considered parts of the customer insights, but it gives you the idea of if you're looking at LinkedIn and you have that LinkedIn connector and you've got sales assistants running, then it's going to tell you if that person's in CRM or not. So if you're going down your list of LinkedIn contacts and reviewing those, that does have the option. The next piece on the social side is where, and this was back to the question earlier, hey, what can we monitor? You can monitor pretty much any type of social feed. But then this gives you, oh, sorry about the phone recording back there was a hand up. So what it allows you to do is run those same type of analytics that we were just talking about with emails with your social. So again, I posted, I sent out a tweet, I put something on Instagram, we did a Facebook post for our company. What do those analytics look like? And then again, it ties it back to that center circle that I had on the diagram of that contact or that company, right? So now you get more insights of who is interacting with us when we correspond, right? So that's really what it's about, is what are those interactions that we're having, whether they be by a more traditional method of email, and now Microsoft's building in this social selling assistant to where it gives those same kind of recommendations. Hey, did you know when you tweet, you have a better response rate or impression rate at 6 in the evening versus 2 in the afternoon, right? Those are the types of insights that they're building out with customer insights. And let's see, what was the other one we wanted to touch on here? Oh, and forms. So the new functionality that's coming out with the customer engagement forms is this gives you the ability to have a portal or like a web form submission. Same thing, gives you who's hitting it, who's giving us data, where do they come in from, what is our touch points with them. So now when you start to look at this holistic picture of your contact, you can see where you're interacting with them, what type of response rate, if you want to call it that, or conversion do you have with that type of correspondence or touch point, and then ultimately giving you those insights or that analytics of what's the best way to engage them, where are you going to maximize your time that you spend interacting with them to get the best return. Any questions on customer insights? I'm excited for this. Super excited. Now let me make sure I got my dynamics up, and we are going to talk about one of my favorite things that's in the current release, but also they're making enhancements to it, which is going to be our relationship assistant. So now take what we've had with what they're releasing, and now with the power of all your other records, it's not a very good screenshot. I apologize for that. Anybody use Relationship Assistant today? Installed that preview? Dad, you don't count. Come on. Anybody guess what its function is, what it's supposed to do? Assist in a relationship. Bingo. It's intended to, like the name says, be an assistant. So how many times have we written something down, let alone maybe put it in CRM? I'm going to assume you guys put it in CRM. And then you forget. You forget when the due date was. You forget that you had that appointment. You forget that you have other clients in that area because you didn't have the time to fully do that research to come back and identify, what do I have on my plate today? So that's what the relationship assistant has been set up to do, which is go through all of your records, review those, and then it has these little action cards. And of course, because I'm getting ready to demo it, my Dynamics 365 just started on the tablet. But it goes through all of your data, and it basically says, what are the rules that we put in place? What do I need to remind this person to do today? So let me jump over here for you. This is my tablet. This will run on your iPhone. It'll run on any mobile device. But let me make this a little bit bigger. It's kind of
actually use your mouse and click on the screen
on here to make it bigger. Oh, you mean like it'll? Oh, I don't want to interact with it just yet. I don't know if you guys can read that. Sorry, I apologize for the small font, but I have 3+ opportunities closing soon. So opportunity, whatever you want to call it, deal, thing that I need to follow up on. So it says I've got a residential field service prospect that closes on Tuesday. So I got 3 things that are closing on Tuesday. If I want to interact with this more, I get the little flyout, open it up, it takes me to all of my opportunities. But it gives me a quick visual indicator. You've got these opportunities closing soon. It has the little watch basically telling me I'm coming up on time, right? And then I've got the no activity with an account. So it said, you may want to work with these records. They don't have any activity. So these are, again, accounts I own or accounts I follow that I'm in charge of, that it's reminding me, you're not doing your job based on the rules that you said you wanted to be reminded of. You know, you want to be reminded where you haven't had any activity. Here you go, I'm reminding you that you haven't had any activity. Does the same thing with contacts. And then again, as I scroll through, it's also going to show me opportunities that I haven't been doing anything with. If I have leads that have been sitting in a certain state for a while. If I, again, have an appointment on my calendar where, let's say I'm flying out of town, I have an appointment in wherever, right? I'm in Dallas. If I have another account that's in Dallas, that will also show up on my relationship assistant and tell me, hey, you've got 1 other, 2 other, 3 other accounts in this area. Maybe you should call them up and try and meet with them because you've now got this appointment scheduled in that area. Ed raised his hand. He uses it. I use it. I don't even meet with that many people, but I just like having relationship assistant. Yes. So on your mobile, it's your landing screen. It's your initial landing screen. You can close out of it, and then if I want to launch it again, it's just this little thing up at the top that looks like a 2-pane window. So if I tap that, that'll always bring me back to my relationship assistant. In the web client, it's part of your social pane. So today you have like posts, activities, notes. If you enable relationship assistant, you'll have post, assistant, activities, notes. So now on every record that you're on, you have that ability to see these action cards of, hey, you know, you haven't had any activity with this person, or the last time you talked to them, it was this opportunity and it's still sitting there. But you have that ability both for a dashboard as well as on each record to have the relationship assistant be there to prompt you with those cues, essentially, those action cards they call them. So each one of these little identifiers right here are the different rules or action cards that you can set up and configure based on the touch points that you want to have with your clients.
Does it prioritize for you?
What was that?
Does it prioritize?
Within the action card itself? No, but you have other mechanisms within CRM that if you wanted to engage and use priority, you can do that as well. And let me retract that just a little bit. With your action card settings, let's say if you want to have it display differently, or you want to make sure that if it's less than 1 day away, you know, that can still show up as an action card. And then if you want to have additional rules or workflows, those are just standard CRM functions that you can have coupled with that.
Let me answer in another way, maybe. You asked if it prioritizes your actions a little bit. Can't really see it, but right here, this section is you've got 3 accounts that haven't had any activity in some time, and then it tells you here's a meeting, and you haven't done anything since Thursday, the 1st of June. So that's the oldest one. The next one is Tuesday, the 6th of June. So it does prioritize that way. It tells you, you know, hey, this is your oldest one. So that is the priority setting. So I would say yes, it does.
The sort order, yeah. Brian?
If your email's on Office 365, it's also looking at your email, right? I think I saw a demo use case where you get an email from a customer that says, hey, please send me a quote for XYZ product. The relationship assistant will prompt you and say, hey, I saw you got an email asking for a quote. Do you want me to create an opportunity for that in CRM for you?
Yeah, so coming back to that other thing we were talking about with customer insights, and I had asked if anybody's also turned on the email archiving and learning, the email analytics side of the relationship system. It will do that. So it will go through and monitor those activities as well and look to see for certain keywords as well as actions and associate those back. So you may have another action card which is you know, follow-ups or action items that came out of your email. In Brian's example, you didn't create a quote or you didn't create a lead or an opportunity. Those are things that can be set up in those rules between those 2 different insight and assistant settings. Any other questions on our relationship assistant? Again, the top little highlighted orange section, that's the relationship assistant bar that's across the top of your social feed. The mobile, same thing. You see those cards in the same format. On the mobile device, that's the current version. This is going to be the new version, so they have changed a little bit of the coloring, the layout, and the UI to make it consistent with the unified client experience.
So I'll show you that.
Okay. Just extension of that. I'm assuming this area is customizable in the sense I should see the CRM data, using the email data, and social feeds. Yeah, I think that's what how that is customized. The customize the widgets where you want to see what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, with the standard UI layout, right, you have that ability. They are adding in some custom capability, again, for colors, theming. So we now can finally add colors to like subgrids and sections and have conditional colors available. In terms of, you know, the layout, we talked about kind of the sort order, the display order. Those rules for your action cards will determine when those triggers fire, and then the additional customization that you have really is just back into the client UI. What we don't know yet in this new release is take like your quick find and you know, how you would customize what gets returned in lookup, you know, top 3 fields. What I don't know is if that is going to be something that's configurable on those action cards as well, to say, display me these 3 or 4 fields on my action card. So that's an open question that we have right now. But it does fall in line with the new UI customization or configuration that they have available. Cool. Not on the slide, but and it wasn't something that we covered. The last thing if anybody of you has ever been frustrated with the ability to say, show me all account records without a contact, they are finally releasing the not in operator for your advanced find queries. So, yeah, that's, I had to mention that one. It's too good to pass up. So, yeah, again, if you guys want to see more of this, write it down. We'd love to jump into you know, relationship assistant, customer insights, and go over that with you further. So, thanks, you guys.
Tell me about your businesses. What do you schedule? What kinds of things do you schedule in your business, especially in your interactions with customers? You schedule people to do what? Okay, so you're making calls, you're setting appointments to push forward a sale, for example. Tech support. Okay. What else?
A field installation.
You might need to send a crew out to go and work on an installation, a setup. What else? Yes. Yes.
We can schedule multiple inspectors on multiple sites all day long, and then we have access to inspectors.
How many inspectors do you have?
We're up to 30.
So you have 30 inspectors, and you need to keep track of where they are all the time. And when do they have an open slot so that you can slide them out to an on-site inspection and get that done quickly? Probably be handy to know what status are they in right now, and when did they finish? Or, right, are they done yet? Right, okay, what else? Client introductions, sure. So part of the getting to know you, is there an opportunity to do business here? Sure. Okay. I saw a scratch, but that wasn't a hand up. Any other ideas? Internally, we schedule meeting rooms. Sure. Yeah. So we'll talk about all kinds of resources. I'm going to jump ahead. So as we look at resources, scheduling resources to do certain things that we got to have done at a certain time, at a certain place, and it's got to be the right resource, right? Because you don't want to schedule a small room for when you need a large room, and you don't want to waste a large room when you only have 3 guys in the meeting, or gals, 3 people. So what can a resource be? Resources can be kind of any kind of thing. Resource could be tied to an account. What if you had subcontractors, and they're vendors to you, but they also are going out to do service for maybe to do one of those installations, right? So maybe they're an account, maybe they're just people or contacts in the system. You need to be able to schedule those contacts to be able to do something at a certain time. Your internal users, also another good example of a resource that can be scheduled. Equipment or a room, right? What if you have a special truck and trailer combo that you need to send out? Maybe there's
Testing equipment.
Sure. Yeah, other ideas there? Equipment that needs to be scheduled? You have an idea. You can see it in your face. No?
Third-party contractors.
Sure. So we talked about they could be an account. That third party could be a contact. You could make them a user, but that could be odd. And they may have specific equipment that you need to schedule, right? So you don't have to limit it to what do we have, but what do our clients need to have scheduled? And then it could be a group of several different resources acting together in a team so that you're getting everybody to the same place at the same time. They're all now scheduled, and they can perform the work. So all that is pretty great, right? Well, right today, what can you schedule? Whatever you do with how do you do your scheduling today? On the phone? Someone with an Excel spreadsheet, or? Scheduling is hard. It's a lot of moving parts. And so, yeah. So inside your system, if you're scheduling inspections in your CRM, maybe there's you could create an inspection entity, and then you could schedule those inspections. You can schedule any entity you want on a new item called a schedule board, And some ideas that I just put down on the slide, right? You can schedule a lead for that first introduction. You can schedule opportunities, maybe for a follow-up appointment, something that you need to push forward that opportunity and get it to a close. And if you're a service organization, schedule work on those cases. Someone brought that up already. Hey, we need to schedule support. Sure, why not? You can schedule anything you want in the latest version of CRM. There are some prerequisites. So first off, you must have project service or field service. So you got to have that. You got to be properly licensed, and that just means that you got to pay the money, right? So Microsoft requires that, and that's because these entities that allow scheduling only come with these add-ons. Otherwise, they don't exist inside your Dynamics 365. And you got to have the right credentials. Universal Resource Scheduling Security role is good. System admin's pretty easy for you guys that are setting it up. And then a license, including an Azure subscription for Universal Resource Scheduling. Now, this also gets us into the realm of, well, we've got 30 inspectors and we're sending them out. What happens when you've got 300? How many more schedulers are you going to need? Can you set up your scheduling in a rules-based fashion and allow an automated system to figure out the best routing, the best schedule, to keep your resources busy, to do it in the best amount of time, and improve customer satisfaction, right? Wow. Maybe if you give the rules to the computer, it can come up with an optimized routing that saves 2 hours a day for some of your resources, and ultimately you could end up performing that many more inspections, right?
Are you saying it's geography aware?
It's geography aware. It knows where your people are, where they're going to be, where they need to be, and it can pick the right resource. It can also pick the right resource based on what they know, right? What kind of inspection do you need to do? They're probably not all the same.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is, like they have all different credentials and certifications, so is it complex enough to keep track of all of that?
It is, yes. Of course, you'll have to tell the system what kind of things they know, right? What credentials do they have?
That's already in the big database.
And, well, you have to tell Dynamics. But, yeah. So pull that data in. Tell the system what the inspection job is, right? Tell it where it is, and then it'll help you pick the best time and the right person to go and do that. Kind of cool? You guys have, I'm not hearing a lot of, oh yeah, that's awesome, but I know you're thinking it. Okay, let me see if I can just do a quick demo of this. What browser are we using, George, for 365?
On the edge.
Oh, that hurts. I see it. I think I finished what I do. All right, so what I did inside our demo tenant here was create a group of opportunities. I just need to filter down to make sure that I see them.
While he's doing that, the system will automatically attempt to geocode any record that has an address on it with the latitude and longitude on that record, so it knows where that's located. And so it's able to track using Bing mapping services and other APIs the distance between the activities, and then it calculates the travel time. And so when it builds an optimized schedule, it's able to factor in that travel.
Schedule flight control? Not automatically, but there may be a third-party API add-on with Trivago or something that'll do this. If you can see this on the screen, can you see what we've got right here in this section? There's a relationship assistant card that popped up. It's telling me that the estimated close date for this opportunity is passed, and I should do something about it. Okay, so this is what Eric was teaching us about, and here it is in play on this record. So
guys notice anything new up in this section here? There's a new button that you may not have seen before called Book. So this is an opportunity. I need to interact with the client. I need to schedule somebody to go out and go have a look and talk to the client. So for scheduling this opportunity, I'm just going to manually say, this client, they're looking for some executive training. I need an executive trainer too who is proficient, right? Only give me resources that match this, right? So I'm just going to search and say, okay, give me the right resources. Who is it? And here we have two. See, Derek and Eric, those guys have that specific certification, right? We believe that they are talented enough to move forward on this and handle this booking. So I can.
If we had geographic data in there for the opportunities and the resources, it would have said how, we would have looked at the time and date that it's attending and schedule them, see where they are on their calendar just before that, and it would tell how far they have to travel and how long it would take.
Yep. And also on this opportunity, I did set it up with a requirement that it look at the 16th of August, right? When I created the opportunity, you can do it with an automated process that kicks off a resource requirement creation that says, okay, well, for this kind of opportunity, you really need an hour, and put it forward a week or something like that, just to help you automate that scheduling. Again, you can schedule anything, and there's a lot more to scheduling than just this, but I just want to show you that to book something like this is actually reasonably simple. Just going to go ahead and book it. And while that's working, we're going to have a quick look at the schedule board. The schedule board allows you to see all your all of the opportunities, right? All the things that you need to schedule. You can break it down by geographic area. It's taking a minute to load here.
You can also break it down by the type of activity, like you may be scheduling electricians and plumbers, and they're totally different sets of people. So you could have one tab for scheduling each one. Each of them are pre-filtered to only show the plumbing jobs and the plumbing resources or the electrical jobs.
Yeah, in this case, you see this that our Salt Lake City All Board shows the requirements for work orders only. But if I click on this opportunities board, it'll show us unscheduled work orders, and it'll also show us opportunities. So there are a whole bunch of these 8 pages worth of unscheduled work orders for field service. But we also have this opportunities view, and you can see we've got a handful of these in here.
Can I give a good example of use case for this?
Yeah, please.
You're asking, well, why do you have the same resources during opportunities and field service orders? Take the example of a company that does installs solar panels in a community. They've got a resource out in a neighborhood, and they're doing an installation. It's going to take 2 hours, and then they're way out in Nephi. So you say, all right, well, I got them all the way out there. Show me all the opportunities in Nephi, and show me all the repair jobs that are open in Nephi. Because the same person who does the installation also does the sales for that area, or does the repairs. And so you can have people who have multiple modes of business or multiple types of activities that they perform all get scheduled those different types of activities on one unified board. Maybe if they have a gap, then you start going and grabbing leads and say, okay, I want to actually canvas this neighborhood, generate a marketing list for that neighborhood, convert the marketing list into door-to-door sales activities, and schedule those on the board for the course. So,
kind of cool. All right, so that July opportunity that we scheduled before, notice it's showing up here on, I just changed the date, so we look forward today at 8/16. Also wanted to show you that we've got this handful of unscheduled resource or unscheduled opportunities down here. First off, remember when we talked about making sure that you know what your inspector is doing? they can, in the field, change this. Your dispatcher on the web interface can do this. So you can do it from a mobile device. You can do it from the web interface. And that is, do things like this. Mark it as in progress. Now, the color's changed on the board, so visually you immediately know what's going on with that opportunity. They're working on that. They're working on that inspection. They're working on that installation. Or maybe you can also have statuses like they were held up in traffic, right? Changes the color, immediately you have that visual feedback. And again, they can do that on the fly in the field from a mobile device as long as they're connected.
That can also trigger a workflow. So if you're stuck in traffic, you can fire off a text message or an email to the customer saying, we're running late.
Absolutely. Okay, so from this schedule board, we can have a look at the various skills that are required. Remember, we had the executive trainers. We're just going to use that again to research for that skill, right? Who has that certification? And then I'm going to manually schedule this bond opportunity for Eric starting at noon tomorrow. Okay.
Hover over the resource too. It shows the skills, the actual skills that they have.
Okay. So you can see that Eric Roth is Executive Trainer 2. He's a journeyman. He's a Tech 1. He's a Tech 2. He's kind of the Swiss Army knife of technicians we've got. We can send him to do anything, and he is currently loaded at 22% for the day. Right? So it shows you how much availability they have. You can also use the schedule board as a visual scheduling tool, and just drag and drop and arrange schedules by hand. So you have automated scheduling, you have assisted scheduling, you have manual scheduling. All those are available using this universal, unified resource scheduling. And I think I'm going to pass it over to George now. We're quickly running out of time, so.
One more question.
Yeah.
11% and 22% under Derek and Eric, is that how committed they are?
This is 111%, and that is the commitment for the day. Yep.
That's what we want to see.
He's overloaded, yeah. What a go-getter.
So if anybody's interested in more of this, we can easily extend just a full hour and a half talking about features of field services and project services. And we'd be glad to schedule either a one-on-one with you, or if we get enough people, we can have another one of these webinar lunch activities. So let Dave, in that corner here, or Mark, know if you want to do that. We'd like to set that up for you.
And just really quick before George starts, just a reminder about your evaluation forms. If you haven't started filling those out, please do so. So we can go ahead and collect those right at the end.
Get all my windows refreshing here. This Talent is an HR product, and it doesn't like to be just left alone on a desktop unattended.
They have regulations.
Yeah, somehow, for some reason. All right, we're good to go. All right. The wrong presentation here. All right, we got too many PowerPoints open on this.
I think the other one's good. You just need to come forward.
Okay. No, oh, is it this one? Or the other one?
Or you can use this one.
All right, I think it's this one right here. Okay. Talent, okay. Okay, go full screen here. Oh, still gonna make me do it. Okay, so in Microsoft's ongoing pursuit for world domination, they've now come out with a platform for managing our internal talent. So you have your ERP systems for managing your accounting, supply chain, inventory. We have our CRM system for managing all of our relationships with our customers and our trade partners. This is a new tool that focuses on managing our internal resources, particularly our talent pool. And similar to how CRM is meant to automate moving people through the lead to cash process and keep that process flowing forward, Microsoft Talent is meant to engage at the recruiting stage, identifying what needs you have in your organization for what skill sets, and then turning those into job listings and performing the recruiting and then the onboarding process and all the way through managing all those relationships. So it has employee and manager self-service portals, manages your recruiting, your onboarding process. Once you've got them onboarded, there's whole modules for maintaining the personnel. It handles your vacation requests and your vacation policies, compensation and benefits, all of your talent development, which is one of the really great, powerful tools. And then all of this is kind of pulled together with Power BI throughout the whole thing, giving you good analysis tools for all of these different processes. And it also has powerful tools for importing all of this from Excel. So how this kind of fits into your ecosystem, it's part of the Dynamics 365 tenant. It's written over Azure, it uses the common data model, and as that evolves, you're going to see that this will just naturally start integrating with the Microsoft Dynamics ERP products from a payroll perspective. Your user accounts that are created in your Active Directory will get data that's in there will get pulled into this, and you'll see also that this will feed your payroll system, and then actuals from payroll will come back and feed back into this. So looking at the self-service portal, this is where both employees and their managers can maintain information about the employee. I don't know why I did this. It's a demo environment, and they created the root account that you are when you log into this demo, and didn't take into consideration that you may not be female. So, but I kind of her picture's growing on me, so I tried to change it, but it wouldn't let me. You can also manage tasks. So, like I mentioned, it's meant to be moving employees through processes of getting onboarded, developing their skills, and these tasks are get assigned to users and helps them to have a way of tracking what they need to do. For example, it's time for you to fill out your new tax forms for the year, or it's opt-in time for insurance. Here's your new forms, fill those out. Tracks what courses they're taking, what certificates they've earned, tracks their scheduled reviews. You can set up goals for employees, and they can track how they're doing on their goals. We talked a little bit about skills with the resource management. This is yet another place where skills can be maintained, and we can, using AppFlow, set up integrations to basically push skills that are entered in here into the CRM resources. It's a place to maintain compensation, and there's a ton more in here. Let's see if I can bounce into this here. Okay, so go into, let's see, we're on self-service portal. Well, here's an example of one of the screens, and they all kind of have this same look and feel, and it should be very familiar to you if you are using CRM. Let's see here. This is the one I wanted. Well, we'll come back to that.
Sometimes that is what's familiar.
Yeah, and this hasn't been released for consumption yet. This will be coming out real soon, and we'll be able to get certified on it, but this is just kind of an upcoming product for them.
George, it actually released a GA a week ago.
Oh, it did?
Yes.
Oh, hallelujah. Well, maybe I'll get a GA release of this instead of my demo environment. Okay, thank you. You can also use it to manage your recruiting process. It allows you to set up a common process that's used for doing your recruiting, systematize it. It allows you to collaborate with other members of the recruiting team. So you can have a person who approves, but you can have another person who does the interviews, and they can fully see what the other people are doing. The LinkedIn integration is pretty cool. It will ingest the data that you've entered into LinkedIn for your job history, your skills, your education, and it will pull it into this system and really shorten the application process. My wife was just out applying for work as a school teacher, and they were making her supply a resume and upload it to their site, And then she had to sit down and fill in all the information from her resume into that same site. It was making her bonkers. This will really clean that up. You can define whatever open positions you have, process their application, screen them, perform interviews, make an offer. It's all structured and managed through this interface. Let's see if I can get to it from here.
So, George, I see it says Dynamics 365 at the top. Can you say, what's the relationship between Dynamics 365 talent and the rest of, say, Dynamics 365 Business Edition?
Yeah, so it's in your tenant. It integrates through Azure and it uses the common data model. However, it is its own product, just like CRM is a separate product from your ERP system. Okay.
And I guess to quantify that a little bit more, the common data service is very, very limited right now. It's supposed to be growing out. So if we fire this up today, everything is not going to automatically be integrated together. Pieces will, but there's a lot more that they're growing out that'll make it where it's integrated together.
Okay, so let's see here. Dealing with recruiting. I won't make it through all these slides if it's going to load this slow. I'll go back to my PowerPoint. So anyhow, it allows you to systematize your recruiting process, show your active jobs, who's applied for them, how many of them have made it through what stages. So applying, have they been screened, have they been interviewed, and so forth. It also helps you onboard manage your onboarding process. You can set up a standard process. How many times have you had somebody show up for their first day of work and they don't have a computer, or IT hasn't set up their account yet? Their email's not set up. This sets up a checklist and of activities for both the employee to perform, but also for other people involved in the process have to go through the checklist. The personnel management is kind of it's like a hub that brings together all the different aspects of the system into one area where you can now digest all the applicants that you're processing, all the people who've been hired, what positions do they hold, what are their salaries, what are their benefits. You can compare operations. This actually does support multiple organizations, so you can pick the org that you're in. Like right now, it's set up to the Contoso Entertainment System, USMF, but you can choose from any one of several different orgs. So if you're part of a large corporation, you can then be able to have a certain amount of visibility into resources maybe that are available for some cross-recruiting or moving across the organization. One of the nice things is because you have so much self-servicing in this, for the employees to maintain their own records, their managers to maintain them, it actually frees up your HR people to use the analysis tools that are built in and really focus on their strategic initiatives, which would generally be talent development and retaining the valuable, skilled employees. If you notice, all of these, there's a lot of dashboards here, and these different tabs at the bottom open up different presentations of the data. So one of them might focus on your headcount. Another one might focus on your demographics or what positions are filled. And so this is all written in Power BI, and they're all customizable for your organization. It allows employees to request their own time off. It follows the policies that you set up for time off and leave, and it allows multiple levels of management approval, and it is a rules-based system. It manages your comp and benefits. It supports all the different pay methods that you would see in a standard HR system, and it also supports, there's actually an industry standard for payroll and comp related data that's used by the various payroll service providers out there. and it supports that standard. So you should be able to interface this with most of your payroll service providers out there. But we've also noticed a few partners now coming out with payroll services and software built on over Microsoft Talent. So they've been on the ball. This is so well thought out and so well integrated with LinkedIn. Considering LinkedIn was only purchased back in December, you can tell that they kind of had an agenda going on this for a while. They've been thinking about this. So like you can see, it also handles your bonus programs, cash awards, stock options, stock awards. You can monitor participation in all those different programs. One of the really cool features is in order to retain employees and use them most effectively, you need to be aware of what skills they have and what degree of that skill they have. So they might be a plumber, but they might be a master plumber as opposed to a journeyman or apprentice. And so you can set targets for the type of talent that you want to develop internally, compare that to what you have, and then set up goals for developing the people that you have. And one of the big metrics for employee satisfaction and staying at your job is when employees feel like their employer is investing in them and wants to keep them long term. People whose employers are developing them and training them don't worry, is my employer going to let me go? They feel like, oh, they're investing in me, they must want to keep me around, and they perform better. And you can track that in terms of the skills they have, just general knowledge, what certifications, what tests they've taken, what education they have, and you can actually schedule those and manage those schedules in the system. You can identify what needs you have and plan that all out and monitor their progress. So any questions about talent?
Does it have time tracking or time clock?
No, so typically what you would do is this is set up to monitor all the inputs that would go into a time and attendance system. But that system would then track it. You could integrate it back, and we could present the time and attendance data in here using Power BI. That's a great question.
Is it a separate license or?
It is a separate license. It's a separate package. This kind of fills a really big gap because the ERP systems have not really addressed the needs of the HR departments very well. Most of them have payroll systems in them, and some of them have some of these features, but they just haven't really executed it well. This is their real deep dive into the human capital management market. And this is their first pass at it. I guarantee you'll see it get better and better over the next few years.
There's reskilling, digital strategies, on agile kind of thing. They want this metrics help them to management to see how they, what are the gaps, how they can reskill.
Exactly. It fills a gap.
Some approaches are very useful thing.
Yeah, and it fills a niche that Microsoft just hasn't addressed very well. So, yeah, we're excited to have this to fill that. If any of you are interested, once again, just like with the unified scheduling, we'd be really happy to schedule a deeper dive for you. But we got to wrap it up now. So, thank you.